they started just completely unraveling on the inside. So I think this is one of the best executed items. I actually think that's pretty misleading to put that on the tag. I think the material on these is really good. The fabric that they chose is just so paper thin. There's a difference between affordable activewear and cheap activewear. Cassey Ho, aka Blogilates, and the creator of the activewear brand POPFLEX, just dropped a new line at Target under her brand name Blogilates that basically is taking the best-selling pieces from POPFLEX and creating them at a lower price. But what's the catch? Is there a compromise on the quality? That is what we're going to find out today. I bought most of the collection and I also have a lot of pieces from POPFLEX because I've reviewed them several times. There's definitely been some mixed reviews out there on if the quality is actually good. And while I have seen some little TikToks of people trying things on, I do try to remain pretty neutral of other people's reviews and just personally judge the pieces off how I view the quality. So if you tried any of these pieces, make sure to comment down below if you liked them, if you had any issues with it, so we can get a wider view. I always welcome you guys to give your own feedback in the comments. Also, every time I review POPFLEX on this channel, I always get people telling me that they ripped off Blogilates, and I can't wait for this to add to the confusion because now there's actually Blogilates activewear when Blogilates' activewear used to just be POPFLEX. And let me tell you, the Blogilates community goes hard. The amount of hate comments I've received for reviewing knockoffs when they were literally POPFLEX, aka Blogilates designs, like, anyways, let's chat a little bit about the Blogilates activewear line at Target. So in terms of price range, I would say this is in the affordable price range, but it's definitely at the higher end of it. I feel like over the past few years, affordable activewear has been getting more and more expensive, and my favorite affordable brands tend to be around $25 to $30 for leggings. The Blogilates line at Target is a little bit higher than that. So the tops and bras are $25. The prices are pretty standard across pieces. The dresses are $40, which I do think is pretty good for an active dress. And the leggings and bottoms are $35. So again, a little bit more expensive than most affordable brands. The size range though is extra small to 3XL compared to POPFLEX, who has 2XS to 3XL. This is slightly decreased, but I still feel like that's a pretty good range. The biggest difference in the size range from Blogilates versus POPFLEX is POPFLEX has a lot of different lengths for their leggings, and the Blogilates Target line so far only has one length for all of their leggings. So for normal leggings, it's not a huge issue, but when you get things like flare leggings, you can't easily pull off a pair of flare leggings that are too short for you. All right, there are so many pieces to cover. I've been really going back and forth how I wanted to tackle this review, but I say we just get right into it. We're going to review each of the pieces, and if I have a POPFLEX item to compare it to, we will compare it. So before we jump into the review, we do have a sponsor for today's video, and that is Ebby. I actually talked about Ebby several years ago on this channel when I was reviewing my best underwear for under leggings, and I was actually introduced to Ebby even years before that by my mom, and we both still love our undergarments from Ebby and wear them all the time. You guys know I'm all about comfort. I don't like to go commando and I don't like to go braless, but I don't like to see all the lines of my undergarments on the outside of my clothes, and Ebby is the best at keeping things comfortable but also super seamless and undetectable under clothing. They have a bunch of styles of their underwear, but what I like about their more full coverage options is that they're non-slip, but they're still super stretchy so they don't cut into you. My go-to is the thong. They have this signature no-slip nylon flocking that first of all is really soft, but it also keeps the underwear in place perfectly so you're never adjusting them. It's a little bit thicker along the edges to where it's still undetectable but it doesn't roll, and you can really see on the high-waisted thong all the little levels of that little nylon flocking to make sure it just stays perfectly in place and never bunches up. And I can truly attest to these underwear lasting me years. I still have pairs from years ago before I ever even filmed that best underwear for leggings video, and they have not stretched out at all. I also have been getting into their bras lately because I just love how seamless they are. My personal favorite is when I just want a comfortable bra that gives me support without any pinching is the wireless bra. This is one of my favorite bras for lounging in and also sleeping in because I honestly forget that it's even on. The whole bra is made of this 4-way stretch material, and all of the edges are actually bonded so there's no seams to cut in anywhere. The wide straps make sure that nothing digs in. I love that they come in standard sizes and larger cup size options so that you still have room in the cups. So if you're ready to refresh your wardrobe, I do have an exclusive code with Ebby. You can use code Kathryn FS15. I will have that on the screen for you as well as linked down below. This will give you 15% off plus free shipping on your Ebby order. Again, my personal favorites are the wireless bralette and honestly any of their underwear, but just the regular thong is my favorite. And without further ado, let's get back to the video. So I feel like we should start out with the active dresses because I feel like that's what POPFLEX is really known for. The dresses and the skirts, more of like the girly active stuff. I have tried most of these pieces on and I have worn one of the outfits to the gym. I'm a little bit underwhelmed by some of the structure of the pieces, especially the tops. They just feel like they lack a little bit of structure. We can see that here in this dress. It's just kind of a straight across piece of fabric with some straps thrown on, and I'm just not super impressed with that. I also have noticed quite a few loose strings, just kind of mismatched stitching. And when I wore these leggings to the gym today, not only did they slide down and kind of stretch out, but the crotch seam like literally just kept unraveling. And Ian was at the gym with me and he's like, I've literally never seen this happen to you before, and I'm testing activewear all the time. And lastly, all of the sports bras came with a hole to insert your own cup pads, but they didn't give you any cup pads. The TikTok community was very divided on this, but I will die on the hill that if you have a space for cup pads, you should put the cup pads in there. Because let's say it's 50% of people want cup pads and 50% don't. You're only catering to the people who don't want the cup pads. And without cup pads, we get headlights on. You don't get very much shaping, and this fabric does not have a lot of shape to begin with. So honestly, these bras really do need cup pads, and they did not include them, which is kind of a bummer to me. And for anyone saying that it's to cut costs, like, let's be for real for a second. These little foam pad inserts cannot cost more than a couple cents. And every other affordable brand I've ever tried that is more affordable than this has cup pads. So I'm just not really buying that it was really a cost-saving measure. I just don't really understand it. I know a lot of people don't like cup pads because, let's be honest, they're not perfect, but I feel like the solution is to insert like a molded cup pad or something sewn in that's actually providing some structure, support, and shaping to the bra, not just to forgo them altogether and just like give up. So I will get off my soapbox, but I'm a cup pad girly. All right, we're going to start out with the Ballerina active dress. This is similar to the POPFLEX pirouette dress, which I tried a few months back. It didn't fit me super well though, so I did end up returning it, so I don't have that to compare today. But the main similarity is definitely the skirt, and if you see their dresses, I just feel like the ratios are off a little bit. It doesn't seem like enough bust or waist area. Like this almost feels like the bra space to me, and then this area is going to come up too high. I also have an issue with most POPFLEX dresses that they are too short on me, and that is still the case here. But anyways, the top material is made out of a recycled polyester spandex. We'll see this fabric basically throughout the entire collection. It's a light to medium compression, light to medium thickness, slightly brushed fabric. It's not the best fabric I've seen, but it's also not the worst. But personally, I don't really feel like it makes for good leggings because they just kind of slide down. And then for the tops, it almost doesn't have enough structure or support. So again, not the best choice of fabric for me. This dress has a straight across neckline with spaghetti straps that are sewn on. They are adjustable. This dress does have a full shelf lining with an elastic under the bust. And again, space for cup pads, but no cup pads included. There's inner shorts with no front seam, a 4-inch inseam, and then we do have 2 pockets on either side. Then you have that flowy mesh tiered skirt to give it that feminine shape. So let's try it on. All right, so this one, even though I like the skirt, is unfortunately the worst of the dresses. The top has zero shape at all, and because of that, I'm getting like this folding over of the inner lining that no matter how much I adjust it, it just ends up going right back. So this straight across with the sewn on straps just isn't really doing anything, and obviously just isn't really working with this fabric. It doesn't have enough structure. The straps are also super skinny, which I don't love. I prefer the straps of the Romance Run dress. This kind of strap just isn't super comfortable and definitely would cut in over time. We do have that under bust layer, but unfortunately there's not a lot of space here. So kind of a low to medium coverage. I am coming out of it a little bit, and definitely low support. The skirt, I actually do think the material is good. It's a lightweight stretchy mesh similar to the POPFLEX pirouette dress. No front seam on the inner shorts, and we have those side pockets. Not too tight on the inner shorts either. And then the main issue I have with this dress is that it just tends away from my body. The top fits pretty snug, so I wouldn't be able to size down, but you can see this whole waist area just is not sitting flush against my skin, so it just doesn't fit super well, unfortunately. I actually did have this issue with the POPFLEX pirouette dress, so I guess it's just not really made for people with smaller waists, even though I think my waist actually falls into the size small measurement. So it just kind of makes me look wider, and it's not super flattering. And then of course it just is so short and just kind of gives me this like juvenile shape, and it just on my body just doesn't look great, so I'm not a big fan of this one. Dress number 2 is the Romance Run dress. This one has a slight V neckline with sewn on thick adjustable strap. I much prefer these straps to the spaghetti straps that we just had. They're nice and thick, they're very adjustable, and that thickness just prevents them from cutting in. I also really love the shape of this dress. It's kind of a fit and flare, super feminine and cute. There is a little slit down here. It's made of that same polyester spandex material. I believe the inseam on this one is graded depending on the size, and since it got a size small, it's only 3¼ inch inseam, but the larger sizes have slightly longer inseams, still have those pockets on the side. Unfortunately, this is one of the pieces that I tried that the stitching just really does look kind of messy, especially when the stitching here is supposed to kind of add some shape and kind of draw your eye to the stitching. I don't really want my eye to be drawn to this messiness, and you can see that right here. It just looks like the stitches didn't quite meet up right, when really it should have just been one stitch all the way down. And this one is also called the Romance Run dress, so you'd think it would be like for running, but this is actually the only active dress that does not have a built-in bra. There's no underbust elastic or anything. So there's no support in this dress. They do have the area for the cup pads, but for me, cup pads alone don't really count as support. Sometimes if you have enough compression, it can, but because this fabric doesn't really have a lot of hold and doesn't contour to the body super well, you're really not getting any support in this one. So this one's definitely for smaller cup sizes, or you have to add your own bra. All right, here is the Romance Run dress, except we won't be doing any running in this because, like we showed, there is no built-in bra. So in terms of coverage on the top, I think it's still a medium coverage. For me, it sits a little bit lower just because this is not very long torso friendly, but the coverage really isn't bad. It does go well into the armpit, cute little V-neck. The support is low because there's really no bra in there. You have that cute seam detail, kind of fit and flare shape. I think the shape of this one is really cute. This one definitely had my attention. There's a little slit on the left side, and then we have those little seams down the front. Again, this is the one where I do have some messy seams, so that is kind of unfortunate. We have the thick tank straps. They are an elasticated strap, so they are sewn on, so they may not look like the most seamless, but I do really like straps like this because they're elasticated, they're adjustable, and they're wide, so even though they may not be like the cutest straps, I do like them. And we have that little B logo in the back. My biggest issue with this one is this is essentially a shirt for me. It is so short. Even POPFLEX dresses were never really made for me as a tall girl, so I really struggle with them. So if you're above like 5'7", this probably is going to be way too short for you. We do have that inner bodysuit with the side pockets. And for some reason, this happens with all of the dresses, but none of them fit me well throughout like the low back waist area. They all kind of gape. On this dress, it doesn't really make much of a difference. And you're definitely seeing things when you lean over. So unfortunately, this one's just a little too short for me. We have some stitching issues, and I do wish there was a built-in bra, but I think the design is cute. The last of the dresses is the Game Set Match halter dress. And although this is a halter, this is very similar to the POPFLEX twirl dress, which is one of my original favorite POPFLEX items. So quickly going over the dress, we do have a scoop neck with a halter neckline. This one does have a full shelf lining with elastic and room for cup pads. It has this drawstring area in the center so you can kind of cinch the waist, and it kind of has a circle skirt, but it's a lot less circly than the twirl dress. And then we have the no front seam inner bodysuit, again with a 3¼ inch inseam in the small, and we also have the side pockets. Quick comparison to the twirl dress. I think this is one of the best dresses in the Target Blogilates line, but it still definitely falls a little bit short of the twirl dress for me. For me, I prefer the tank straps of the twirl dress because the halter just really gets uncomfortable on my neck over time. They both honestly have a pretty small area for the bust. They're not very large bust friendly. I do spill out of the twirl dress, and I feel like the waist area of the twirl dress fits a little bit better. I have some bagginess in the Game Set Match dress, and the skirt portion is a lot more twirly and voluminous in the twirl dress compared to the Game Set Match. You can see there's just a lot less skirt fabric, and the circle skirt in this dress is just so well made. And lastly, I prefer the fabric of the POPFLEX one quite a bit more. It just has that contouring, hugging feeling that I feel like an active fabric should have that the Blogilates one kind of lacks. But we are comparing an $80 dress to a $40 dress. I really don't think this one is bad by any means. It's actually probably the best dress out of the three. This one doesn't stand out to me as a bad quality or anything. I think it just lacks a couple of the more luxurious features of the other one. All right, here is the halter dress. And before I tied it, I just wanted to show that all of the dresses are not sitting flat against my back or my waist. So fortunately with this one, we do have that tie, so you can kind of see how that cinches in a little bit. And this tie actually is hitting at my natural waist, so that was a pleasant surprise. I thought it was going to be way up high. So here's this dress. I actually think that this is my favorite of the three. We do have kind of a limited bust space, but we have that under bust support with the shelf lining. Since none of the pieces came with cup pads, I'm not going to put any in because I feel like these are obviously just like not meant to be worn with pads. So we have this halter neckline. It is a nice thick strap. I just don't really love halters. I think they bothered my neck over time. And an old ballet teacher always told me that they kind of like mess with your back. And I honestly believe that. So more low to medium coverage here, and the support is still low just because there's not a lot of coverage. A little bit of looseness in the body here. We have that tie waist that I love, and then we have the skirt. It's not quite as circly, quite as flowy as the POPFLEX tutorial Skort, but I do think there's still some volume in the skirt. We have a slit at the front. We have those inner shorts with the spacious side pockets. With all of these shorts on the dresses, they are pretty short, around 3¼ to 4 inches. So for me, my thighs do kind of eat those up, so do expect that. But that being said, all of them have been thick thigh friendly in terms of not cutting into my thighs. I feel like everything in this collection just runs like a little bit big. This one still is quite short for me, a little bit too short for my personal preference, so I would have liked to see it be a little bit longer. I do think this one is cute, and I don't have really any quality issues with it. I just think it's better for smaller busts and shorter people. Here's the back. We can see that halter. Even though this one's definitely shorter, it's not causing me a ton of strain in the torso, so that's a plus. So next, this is not really in the dress category, but this is the women's Sweetheart wide leg jumpsuit. And unfortunately, I accidentally ordered this one in a 2XL because I thought this collection was gonna sell out immediately, and it did not. So I was like rushing to add things to my cart, and I didn't need to do that. So we did have one slip up, but honestly, I'm not too bummed about it because I feel like this is one of the most disappointing items that I've been seeing people talk about, because this just does not compare to the POPFLEX version at all. POPFLEX launched a wide leg jumpsuit similar to this quite a while ago, and it was made of this stretchy ribbed material. I believe it had a built-in bra and everything, and it was honestly just a really nice, like cozy, comfy jumpsuit. And they tried to do that with this one. The fabric that they chose is just so paper thin. I can see my whole hand through this. It does not have the same built-in bra that the POPFLEX one did. Instead, it's just double lined here, but that's really not going to provide any support. You'd still have to wear a bra, which honestly isn't a big deal. But for me, there's just way too much fabric on this for the fabric that they chose to be so thin, because it's so easily weighed down. I really don't think I can try this one on because it's really just nothing close to my normal size, which is my bad, but I wouldn't be too upset about it, guys, because I really just haven't heard great things about this one. Okay, actually, I'm looking at the tag of this one, and I feel like this is just like mislabeled. It says that this one is supposed to have a nip cushion layer and a shelf bra, and there is nothing of the sorts in this top. So all of the pieces have this little card that has Cassie's like original designs with some features on it, and I would not consider this a shelf bra. I actually think that's pretty misleading to put that on the tag when all this is just a second layer of fabric. A shelf lining is something that we saw in the dresses where you had a separate layer with that elastic on the bottom to actually provide some support, and there's no nip cushion layer in here either. This is just 2 layers of that thin fabric together. But it almost makes me wonder how much influence Cassey really had over like the final stages of the designs, because obviously these are her designs, but I feel like the poor execution of some of the pieces is definitely like on the Target end, which if I were her, I would be kind of upset about that. So I kind of wonder. All right, next we're moving on to leggings. These are the women's crisscross high-rise legging. They're made of a recycled polyester spandex material, and I have been hearing a lot of people talk about this material pilling, and I will say it does have that look to it that just makes you think that this might pill. Again, I did do a workout in these and I haven't had any pilling yet, but it's just really hard to say without kind of testing these over time. And honestly, I cannot see myself wearing these again, maybe ever, just because I really didn't feel very good in them. Here's a close-up of the fabric where you can see kind of some of that fuzziness that may lean this towards pilling. Anyways, we have that signature POPFLEX cross waist with the slight V. We do have a triangle gusset here, and we have pockets on the side. The back glute seams do taper slightly. And then we have a tonal silicone B logo for Blogilates, which actually does feel very elevated. But these leggings are the ones where I'm having a lot of the quality issues. I have this little fuzz here that's just been sticking out ever since I opened these. When I wore these to the gym today, the crotch seam just started unraveling, and the seams in the back just really don't come together very evenly. These are said to be a 27-inch inseam, and I did measure them, and they were maybe like 26.5, but they definitely felt shorter. They also have this little ruched detail at the bottom of the leg. Let's try these on. All right, the leggings. First of all, as I film my videos, I always do my little notes at the end that include all the details. And I was going through the fabric composition. I noticed on the waistband of the leggings, it says that they're a 75% nylon, 25% spandex. But on Target's website, it says that they're an 82% polyester, 18% spandex. So I truly don't know what these are made out of. I think that's a huge oversight, and I don't understand why I'm always noticing these things and brands like don't fix them. This collection's been out for over a week. Like, has no one else noticed that that's just wrong? Because I actually don't know what these leggings are made of. I don't know if it's the same material as the tops. Kind of feels like the same material. I think it's the polyester spandex, but I'm not really sure. Anyways, I'm very glad I wore these leggings to the gym, because if I didn't, I may not have realized just how poorly these fit and perform. I'm just going to roll this up for a second. So first of all, the rise is a lot lower on these than my normal POPFLEX cross waist. I'll try on these POPFLEX shorts just to show you, but if you're expecting the same rise height that POPFLEX has on the new Blogilates, you will be disappointed because these are quite a bit lower. For me, it's a little bit low. I just feel like I'm showing a lot of skin, but I do have a long torso, so I don't think the rise itself is bad. We do have that crossover waist with that slight V. Then we have the spacious side pockets. These do feel like they fit everywhere, and I don't have any loose fabric, but unfortunately throughout my workout, the waistband stretched out like a ton. It was gaping out a lot at the end of my workout, and these just kept sliding down. I was pulling them up constantly, and not just because I like a high rise, but because they were like literally sagging. And after one set of overhead press, they started just completely unraveling on the inside. So with just one pair of leggings here, I have stitches sticking out, I have fabric that wasn't cut properly along the seams, I have a seam that was unraveling, and I have a fuzz over here. So a loose string here or there is, you know, maybe a slight sign for concern, but for me it's not a deal breaker. But for me to have these quality issues in so many of the pieces, honestly, it's more than a red flag. There are serious quality control problems, and frankly, it's just disappointing to see. And I don't want to hear anyone make the excuse that this is affordable. That is not an excuse. Just because something is affordable doesn't mean it needs to be trash. We have a light to medium compression, but they don't really hug the body. This material is slightly brushed. It definitely collects a little pet fur and lint. I think other people have been having more of an issue with that than I have. It definitely collects some for me, but I'm kind of used to that. And in the back, we have these V seams, and I was going to give this a medium on the booty scale, but looking at myself working out in the gym with these, I'm gonna give them a low to medium, because they honestly were just sliding down on me at the gym, giving me kind of a saggy butt look, and I just was not here for it. So these are really not flattering. Maybe a little bit of cellulite coverage. You do have that little ruched detail on the back of the leg, I guess. It's not super noticeable. And these are said to be a 27-inch inseam. I was getting a little bit closer to 26, maybe 26 and a half. So unfortunately, almost everything about these leggings is a skip for me. I don't think they fit or perform really well. And these are $35, and that's not nothing, and they should last. And after one workout, I'm confident that these will not be very long lasting. So these are a no for me. Super quickly, we also have the crisscross flare leggings. So these are basically the same on the top, except we do have a flare at the bottom with a slit at the end as well. Basically identical features on the top compared to the last leggings. So let's try these on. All right, here are the flares. Just gonna go over these quickly because they're basically the same as the leggings. So I definitely feel that kind of pulling down effect. These are just not really wanting to stay up. Similar mid to high rise, crossover waist, pockets, no front seam. All of the gussets have been pretty hidden, which is nice. Again, not really sure what this fabric is made of because it says the same thing on the back that the blue leggings do, which is also different from what it says on the Target website. Gonna do low to medium on the booty scale because I know these are gonna slide down. Again, maybe a little bit of cellulite coverage. In terms of a flare shape, these are not super bell-bottomy like the POPFLEX. I feel like POPFLEX does have a pretty dramatic flare. I actually think POPFLEX has multiple flare options, but these also only come in one inseam. They say they're 32-inch, but it feels a little bit short, so I will have my measured inseam at the end. We also have a little slit at the bottom. These do cling to my calves a little bit, so if you have large calves, be aware. They may cling to the calves a bit, but I don't think it's too bad. It wouldn't prevent me from wearing these. And again, I just don't love how the stitches are such a different color than the legging. So yeah, there are just much better affordable flare options. Camo Fitness, I think their flares are like $32, and they just came out with multiple lengths, and those I love. They unfortunately don't have pockets like these. That would be nice. Simply because of how the fabric performed on the other ones, I'm gonna skip these. She did launch multiple skirts, but I just got the iconic Ballerina skirt. This is similar to the viral POPFLEX Pirouette Skort. This is the one that Taylor Swift wore. She actually wore it in the lilac color. Anyways, I was super excited to see the iconic skirt in a more affordable version. The POPFLEX version is $60 and this skirt is $35, so about half the price. We have that same recycled polyester spandex material on the top in a crisscross waist. Then you have a lightweight mesh in this double-tiered flowy skirt. We do have inner shorts with a 4-inch inseam inseam and side pockets. The notable differences between the two of these, first of all, the Blogilates has a cross waist and the POPFLEX a wider high-rise waistband with a drawstring. I do prefer this waistband for some reason. I just feel like the cross waist on the skirt is just not really doing what I want it to do. It almost makes this look a little bit more slouchy, and I just really love how the pirouette Skort is done. I'm actually pretty impressed with the mesh material they chose for the Blogilates version. The POPFLEX one does have a better base material in my opinion. It's this nice medium compression performance fabric, and the Blogilates one does have that kind of thinner, just like not really enough hold to it. It's not super noticeable under this skirt, so it doesn't bother me too much, but I do prefer the base fabric quite a bit more on this one. And similar to the twirl dress having more of a full skirt, there's also quite a bit more little pleats in the POPFLEX one compared to the Blogilates, but unless you're comparing them side by side, I really don't think you see it too much. This is one of the few items that if you're gonna save or splurge, if this one is out of your budget, I think this is a great option. Let's try it on. All right, so the Skort, the main material is the same as basically all of the other pieces. So it's kind of that thinner, softer material, but we do have a double thickness with the waistband with the crossover waist and a high rise. The skirt itself is made up of a stretchy fine mesh, which I wasn't sure how this was going to be, but it's actually pretty good. There are a couple areas I've noticed where the cut at the end is not completely even, but I feel like that's really nitpicking. This is a raw cut hem anyway. It still has a lot of movement to it. I would say this is the best item that is based off a POPFLEX item. I don't love the cross waist. I would have just preferred a straight across waistband, but it's honestly not too bad. In terms of sizing, I feel like everything is just not fitting quite right. The waistband in the back does want to wrinkle quite a bit, but because the shorts on the inside are covered by the skirt, I feel like it's not a huge problem. And we have the no front seam with the signature 2 side pockets, and these are a solid 4-inch inseam with no tightness on the thighs, so they're definitely thick thigh friendly. As with most POPFLEX items, it is pretty short. I'd say it's actually not quite as bad as the POPFLEX skirt in terms of the length. So I think this is one of the best executed items, which is kind of surprising to me because I would think it would actually be more difficult, but having this little layer of the skirt over top just really kind of saved the day here. All right, next we are moving on to tops and sports bras. This is the Blogilates women's crisscross sports bra. It looks a lot like the POPFLEX corset sports bra, which I do not have, so I can't compare them directly. This is that same recycled polyester spandex. So we have an elastic along the bottom, and we have a kind of rounded square neckline, and this looks very wide. I have tried this one on, and we definitely have some strap falling off issues, so I feel like this one was just made very wide set. And since this is the first sports bra we're talking about, it's time to talk about the cup pad and nip cushion layer situation. So on all of the sports bra tags, they're advertised as having something called a nip cushion layer, kind of in lieu of those cup pads that I miss. We can see right here it says there's a nip cushion layer, and actually the sports bra I'm wearing right now is from POPFLEX, and this one actually does have a little cushiony layer that's supposed to protect against nippage, but this one is a lot thicker than this one, and even this one does not protect against my nippage. If it's even slightly cold, headlights are on, this does not prevent any of it. So I feel like for every tag to be like, oh, there's a nip cushion layer, and for it to really do nothing is just like kind of a bummer. You can see on the inside of the sports bra here, there's this little like mesh lining that does have a little bit of thickness, and that is the nip cushion layer. And like we've talked about with this fabric not really having a lot of hold or anything, it just doesn't make for a great sports bra, and I would have liked something added in there to provide some shape, and the nip cushion layer that's in there just provides a very little amount of thickness that really doesn't do any shaping. So I would have liked to see something else added that would just kind of up these sports bras a little bit, because all of the sports bras just feel like, honestly, they don't really look very flattering on me. My girls like to be shaped a little bit. I like to have a cup pad that is providing some shape, or a bra that's providing some sort of shape or lift, and I just feel like we're not getting that with these bras. That's kind of a common theme with the bras, so I just wanted to discuss that on the first one. Other than that, we do have a little crisscross strappy action in the back, that tonal B logo, which I definitely think is a highlight of this collection. Let's try these on. All right, here we are. We can see just how wide these straps are. They really should be kind of between my delt and my trap, but they are just sitting quite far out, so I am not confident that these are going to stay put, so that's definitely unfortunate. I'm also getting some spilling out here, so very minimal bust space. Although we have good side boob coverage, I'm going to give this a light to medium for the coverage. We do have this secure under bust elastic that I like. The support though is definitely a low support. And then you have the little crisscross straps in the back. I don't have the POPFLEX corset bra, but I'll put a picture here and you can just see how much more structure and shape that has. And I know that this is more affordable, but it's still $25 and it's not really doing anything for my girls. The straps are gonna fall off. I just don't feel very good in this. So the elastic is kind of wanting to tuck under as well. So unfortunately, this one's just not doing it for me. One more look at that back detail. I do think this is cute, but definitely a little bit less elevated than the POPFLEX corset bra. Next, we have the women's ruffle top. I did used to have a POPFLEX sports bra that had a similar little ruffle design. I do a couple closet clear outs per year, and honestly, a lot of my POPFLEX items I ended up getting rid of just because I don't really reach for them very much. This is kind of a signature POPFLEX design here. So we have a scooping neckline, just a very basic tank, but you have a little romantic ruffle on the sleeve. There is a full shelf lining with an elastic underbust, room for cut pads. This wasn't their item where I had some quality issues. I just have this like large piece of fuzz sticking out here and it is attached to the item. So a little fuzz like that doesn't honestly bother me too much if it was just like a one-off in the whole collection because you could just snip it. I think just the sheer amount of little fuzzes and seams unraveling I've had in this collection is more than just like a one-off thing that I can really brush off. It's more like a concern about the quality of the entire line. Anyways, let's try this one on. All right, here's the romance ruffle top. So this one is a built-in bra top with room for cups. And then the signature design here is this little ruffle sleeve. I think they did a good job with these. They do feel like they stay up. They're not too loose or too tight on me, but a medium coverage up here, but still kind of a lower support. And the length on this one is kind of between waist and high hip length. So not super cropped, but not full length. This one is definitely snug on my bust, but pretty loose throughout the waist for me. And I'm just not really finding any of the tops to really flatter me. Like I just don't really feel great in this. I think if I sized down, I would be falling out of the top. So I don't really think it's a sizing thing. And then just showing the back, you can see those ruffled sleeves a little bit. It's hard to tell if it's a fabric issue or just like a fit and design issue throughout the body, but I just don't really feel super lifted, held in, or flattered in general. I don't think this is a bad top. It's just not really working for me. Next, we have the corset tank. I love this pink. It reminds me a lot of my Buff Bunny pink from my launch. I definitely identify a lot with this spring color palette. So we have this scooped neckline with a racer back, another shelf lining. This one is also very simple. I love the slightly elongated length of this tank. It's like a longer crop length. And I think the seams are actually really nice on this one. You have these little corset style seams, but it's not the normal serger seams that they have. It's the kind of thin, delicate seams that I do see a lot on more high-end brands. So I like to see that here. Here's an up close of those little seams. No quality issues on this one. All right, so here's this one. Again, a situation of fitting into the top half and the bottom being quite loose. I don't know if it's meant to be like this, but I just feel like for active tops, they're usually at least like a little bit more snug than this. Anyways, on the top portion, I feel like this is about a medium coverage. Actually pretty good on the top this time. I feel like a larger bust would be able to fit into this. The support is still low to medium. I really like the delicate seams on this one. I think this one has a much more elevated look, at least design-wise, than some of the other seam details. We have kind of tapering straps that go into a racer back, and that's sewn down to the bottom of the top. This top is a little bit longer than the last one. I would consider this more of a high hip length. Definitely still slightly cropped, but not like super crop top. This one I would consider almost full length. And it's true to size depending on how you want it to fit. Again, I don't know if I could size down in this. I think I probably would suggest trying to size down if in between on this one, just so it's not quite as loose, because in this current size, it's just not super flattering on me. This is the Cardio Queen sports bra. And when I look at this bra, I would simply never wear this for any cardio as someone who has a little bit of a bust. Anyone with a larger cup size would look at this and honestly laugh that it would be called anything related to cardio. So since a lot of these tops are aimed towards smaller busts, I was hoping this would be the one option with a little bit more support, but unfortunately there's just not a lot of shape or support going on here. We have a V here with an elastic under bust. We do have nice thick tank straps that are adjustable, so I definitely appreciate that. We also have a 3-hook closure on the bottom. I don't find this super necessary for just like a normal sports bra material like this. I generally find these hook closures to be a little bit more for fabrics that have a little bit more structure to them and not as much stretch, so that you can really adjust it, but you probably don't need the adjustability along that area, but it's there. And then we have the space for cup pads. Let's try it on. All right, this is the Cardio Queen sports bra. The best coverage out of all of the bras for sure. This is a medium to full coverage, but the support is still a medium. It would be a little bit risky if I tried to run in this bra. I really like my girls to be locked down. The adjustable straps on this one are not a simple elastic like the Romance Run dress. They're actually an elastic covered with the same fabric. So I think it's a little bit more of an elevated look than the last one, but they still are adjustable, and you have 2 hook closure in the back here for a little adjustability there. Again, I don't really think it's super needed, but can help with fit or stretching out over time. This one is true to size. If you're in between, you could really go either way, but this does fit a little bit more snug compared to the other bras, so I do get a little bit more compressed, which I like. I would consider this one large cup size friendly in terms of coverage, but what I feel like they were trying to go for was a higher coverage cardio focused bra, maybe something that would be running appropriate, and for me this just is not running appropriate. If you have a larger bust, you're still going to be jiggling around a lot in this one just because this fabric doesn't have the structure or support to do that. So I think the shape is fine. I just would have chosen a different fabric for this one, something that could just hold the girls down a little bit more. So it's not bad, I just wouldn't use it for what the name suggests, which is cardio. This is the Corset cropped bralette. We have these adjustable spaghetti straps, and this one's very seamless in the back. This one does have removable cups. There's nothing really to separate the bust area to the long line portion, which is similar to the top that I'm wearing. I will compare these, and honestly they're pretty comparable. This one just doesn't have the mesh, and the nip cushion layer is a little bit thinner on this one. Let's try this one on. Okay, here's this top. We have those under bust contour seams, the corset style seaming. This is really more of a long line sports bra. Coverage is about a medium. We have that scooping neckline. We have pretty good side boob coverage. If you adjust it a little bit, I'd say it's really not too bad over there. The support though is definitely on the low side. This is just not a super supportive sports bra. I do think this has the potential to be large cup size friendly because there is a good amount of space and it's not super low coverage, just not very high support. And then in the back we have adjustable straps and a racer back. It does come up into the lats quite a bit, so I could see this being uncomfortable over time, especially if you have kind of developed lats. So for me, putting cup pads in would just help a lot with the shape. Okay, so I put a cup pad in on this side, and I just feel like you get a little bit more shape, just a little bit more rounding. It just helps the girls look a little bit better. It's not like push up or anything, and just gives you that nippage protection. I also just feel like it helps the sports bra fit a little bit better because a lot of the bras today just have this almost like slouchy look to them, and the cup pad just kind of retains that shape. So again, I would have liked to see those. And lastly, we are moving on to loungewear, outerwear, starting out with the Campfire fleece full zip jacket. This is $40, and I was really excited to get this because I have the POPFLEX Find Your Inner fleece jacket, and I always get a lot of compliments on this, and I've had this for quite a while now, and I guess I did not realize that this is $165. Like, some POPFLEX stuff is not too bad. Like the twirl dress, $85. Okay, $165 compared to $40 is quite the price difference. Anyways, some notable features of these. These are definitely very similar. The POPFLEX has a stretchy rib material for this upper body area, and the Blogilates is a lightweight soft shell material, so kind of like a windbreaker style. The POPFLEX definitely feels more just like kind of like a fluffy fleece, and I can attest to this one holding up over time. It also says dry clean only, and I put it in the wash and it's fine. But this one definitely feels more like that kind of Sherpa material. Like 5 or so years ago when those Sherpa jackets were really popular, that's kind of what this reminds me of. And I feel like my Sherpa jackets, I didn't have very expensive ones. I think I had one from like Zaffle or something. I was in college, so we got like the cheapest one possible. So I can't really speak to this one holding up over time, but it's definitely a difference between the two. They both have a full zip. The POPFLEX does have zip pocket as well as a drawstring to cinch the bottom, and it also has cuffs at the sleeves, and it has a detachable hood. I don't wear the hood because it was gigantic, but it has the option for that. The Blogilates one does not have any cuffs, just has a little elastic at the end of the sleeve. It does have front pockets, but they have snap closure instead of zip, and there's no cinching at the bottom. This one also fits a little bit long and has less of that cute kind of like bubbly type shape that I really like out of this one, but this one is a fraction of the price. So let's try this on. All right, here is the Campfire fleece. It's a full zip fleece, quite oversized, so definitely no need to size up in this one. This fits like a large or extra large, so just keep that in mind. She just likes her things so oversized that sometimes I'm not prepared for it. I know that people like this. I like things to be like a little slouchy. This kind of just looks like I picked this up from the men's section. I feel like compared to the POPFLEX fleece, that one's just like so girly, and the shape is like oversized in like a bubbly cute way, and this is just kind of like not giving that same feel. So the more I try this one on, the less I like it. First of all, the length is longer. It does go slightly over my butt. You can kind of make it sit up a little bit higher, but it just doesn't look as like intentionally high hip. We do have those front pockets, and the material on this is that soft shell material, not that same cotton rib. You don't have the cute little cuffs on the sleeves of the POPFLEX one that I think really helps with that kind of slouchy to like tapered vibe. We have that collar here, and then very simple in the back. I just feel like this one, maybe it's partly the color I chose, I don't know. This one just doesn't give the Blogilates like girly cute vibe. It just kind of feels like a regular old fleece. If you just want a regular old fleece, I definitely don't think it's bad. I don't really have major problems with it. I just don't really think it's not giving what I wanted it to give, because I love that fleece so much. It's probably like my favorite POPFLEX thing that I have. So yeah, just a little bit bummed with this one. Almost at the end, we have the Marshmallow full zip hoodie. This is supposed to be like the POPFLEX cloud hoodie. I used to have 2 cloud hoodies. I did clear them out of my closet just because they are so oversized that I just never really wear them. So I can't compare them directly, but these do have a very similar shape. The material is definitely different. The POPFLEX cloud hoodie has this very distinct inner fleece lining. This is a cotton polyester, kind of a typical fleece lining of a sweatshirt, but I do think the material on this is really good. It's a nice medium to full thickness sweatshirt. And while maybe I haven't loved the fabric of the leggings, I think they did a good job selecting the fabric for this. We have a full zip, very oversized sleeves with little cuffs at the bottom. We do have front pockets and a very oversized hood. So let's try this on. All right, if there's something that Blogilates loves, it's an oversized hoodie. And when I say oversized, I mean, I have men's large hoodies that don't even fit this oversized. Like, they are huge. For me, it's almost too much. Like, I do feel like I get lost in these, and I am a tall person. So anyways, for reference, it goes out to about here, and I am there. And the sleeves are also super oversized, bat wing effect, but this is really just a style thing. So if you really do love an oversized moment, then this is definitely for you. In terms of the length, it does go down further than what I remember my cloud hoodie going down to. I would consider this mid-hip. It does go slightly over the glutes in the back, but honestly, I'm okay with it. It does have an elasticated area at the bottom that kind of helps it sit at the top of the hips, and I love a hip length sweatshirt. The material is that medium to heavyweight fleece line. I really think this hoodie material actually feels really good, so I'm glad that they got a nice material in there. We have a full zip, and while I love the hoodie material, I feel like the material on the cuffs is a little bit thin and just like kind of noticeably thinner and flimsier, and I don't really feel like it matches the rest of the sweatshirt, so that's one thing I would change. But for me, I don't think it would stop me from getting this. We don't have any little drawstrings for the hoodie. And then we have this huge hoodie in the back, and it almost like weighs this down a little bit too much for me. You can see it kind of pulls it back there, and I feel like this whole time I've been kind of trying to pull it forward. I saw people talking about this with the Lululemon scuba hoodie for a while, that they just felt like it was pulling it back on them, and I feel like the hoodie is so heavy that it is doing that. But if you like an oversized hood moment, we do have 2 pockets in the front here as well. There's no snap or zip closures. So yeah, I think the hoodie material is actually better than expected, but I don't feel like it's giving the shape that the cloud hoodie gave. So material wise, I like this one, but overall style, I just don't really think I'd wear it much. Lastly, we have the women's travel trousers, high-waisted sweatpants. These are $35. They're made of that same fleece material as the hoodie. We have this elasticated waist. We do have an external drawstring, which I love. We have this really nice raised seam along the outside that just kind of gives these some good shape. We have a super wide leg, and I am a huge wide leg sweatpant girly. We have front pockets. This one does only come in one length, and it is 31 inches. Personally, would have loved to see multiple lengths for this, but let's try these on. All right, here are the sweatpants. They are hitting a little bit lower than I expected. I guess I could tie them up a little bit more, but without tying the waistband too tight, it almost fits like a mid to high rise. We do have this thick elasticated waistband, but as you can see, it definitely runs a little bit on the big side. So I do have to just tighten these a little bit, but we have 2 little front pockets here. I love the little stitch detail that goes down the front. It just kind of gives these some shape. And in the back, these are definitely a relaxed fit, oversized, but I don't feel like it's too saggy in the butt area. It just kind of skims the glutes a little bit. And these only come in one length. They are a 31 inch, so they're just kind of barely the right length for me. Personally, I'd prefer a 32 inch for my sweatpants. So just keep in mind, if you're short, these are definitely going to be too long on you. We also have that little structured stitch down the back. I actually think for a $35 pair of sweatpants, these are really cute. I love a wide leg. I think the material on these is really good. And unlike the sweatshirt, we don't have any of that like thinner cotton ribbed material here. This is just all that nice thick plush fleece. For me, these pants are definitely a winner. In terms of sizing, true to size, if you're in between, you could really go either way. If you think you want things to fit a little bit more on the snug side, size down. Okay guys, that is everything I got in the Blogilates Target activewear collection. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you tried any of these pieces and what your thoughts are down below. My overall thoughts, I definitely think that there are some quality issues that need to be addressed. And I feel like when I mention these quality issues on TikTok, people come at me and say, oh, like it's more affordable, so like that's why there are these differences. I truly very strongly believe that you can get high quality, affordable activewear that is just as good as high-end brands. I made a whole video on that earlier this year, and in those brands, I've never had the quality issues that I've had in the Blogilates brand. And even not having the cut pads, people are like, oh, well, it's an affordable brand, so they didn't include them. Every affordable brand I've ever tried can include the cut pads. If it's for a different reason, like our audience doesn't want the pads, that's one thing. But why have the cut pad space and not include the cut pad? I feel like the cut pad is part of the design. Like you should be picking a cut pad that fits properly into that space. Sometimes it's hard to just throw any random pad in there. And someone commented this on my Instagram that I thought really captured this, but they said there's a difference between affordable activewear and cheap activewear, and this is more giving cheap activewear. I'd say for the majority of the pieces, I do agree. Just because the leggings are $35, that doesn't mean it's nothing. $35 is still money, and is it actually cheaper if they end up falling apart and you have to purchase them more often? So for me, the majority of the items today just didn't support or flatter my body in the way that I expect an activewear piece to do. An activewear brand selling pieces at a slightly lower price point, not even the cheapest I've seen, is really not an excuse to have messy stitching. And you should not be making excuses for brands that have things falling apart by saying, well, it's more affordable, because they can do better and they should. So I really hope that the Blogilates Target brand takes the feedback, tries to improve these pieces, and gets us some higher quality items, because I do think the designs are really cute and I love the idea of having a more affordable range. So in terms of the few pieces that I do think are worth it, I think the sweatpants are worth it. I actually really like those. Love the shape of them, love the fabric. I think the Marshmallow hoodie is pretty good. I didn't like that ribbed material, but I think overall for a $35 sweatshirt, not bad, and I really don't have too many complaints. The Ballerina skirt, I don't love the base material, but I still think it is really cute, and I do think that one could be worth it. And then in my maybe category, maybe that corset tank. I did think the seam detail was nice, and I really liked the length of that one. The game set match halter dress I thought was pretty good. It didn't fit me perfectly, and I don't love a halter, but it's pretty good. But for me, the rest of the pieces are definitely a pass. Thanks for sticking around for this very long video. I know it's gonna be long because we had a lot of pieces to review. So if you did stick around, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!